It all started on an ordinary morning when the world was busy with its usual routine. People were going to work, children were getting ready for school, and the hum of life went on as it always did. But far above the earth, in the silent emptiness of space, something unusual was happening. A strange signal, unlike anything humans had ever encountered, was traveling across the stars, heading straight for the planet. At first, nobody understood what it was. Satellites picked it up, and scientists in labs around the world noticed something odd in their data. It wasn't a natural pattern like a star or a pulsar. The signal was organized, rhythmic, and deliberate, as if someone or something was trying to communicate. In a quiet lab, a team of researchers stared at the blinking screens, their hearts beating faster with excitement and fear. "This isn't ordinary," one of the scientists said, his voice trembling slightly. It's a message. But it's not from Earth, it's from somewhere else." His colleague leaned closer, adjusting the screen. "Do you mean aliens?" The word hung in the air, almost impossible to believe. The team had studied space signals for years, but none had ever seemed to be intended for them. They double-checked the calculations, verified the signal's source, and slowly realized the truth. This was a message, sent from a star system hundreds of light-years away. And it wasn't just random chatter. The aliens were asking for help. News of the discovery spread like wildfire. Scientists briefed government officials who were stunned and unsure how to react. The media caught wind of the story almost immediately, and soon every screen, every headline, and every social media feed was filled with the same question. Are aliens trying to contact us? People reacted in different ways. Some were excited, imagining peaceful visitors from another world who could bring knowledge and wonder. Others were terrified, fearing invasion or some unknown danger. Conspiracy theories ran rampant, and cities buzzed with anxious conversations. Yet in the midst of fear and excitement, scientists worked tirelessly, trying to understand the message. It was not easy. The signal was in a language humans had never encountered, a series of patterns and pulses that didn't match any known code. For weeks, researchers analyzed, decoded, and tested every possibility. They debated theories, ran simulations, and even consulted AI systems to help interpret the data. Slowly, almost painfully, the message began to make sense. The aliens weren't just asking for contact, they were pleading for help. Their words, when translated, expressed urgency, desperation, and a hope that someone could respond. But there was a strange twist. The scientists realized that the aliens hadn't actually meant to contact Earth. The message was supposed to go to a distant civilization far more advanced, one the aliens had dealt with before. Somehow the signal had been misrouted across the galaxy, landing in humanity's hands by accident. When this was discovered, the implications were staggering. Humans had accidentally become the recipients of a cosmic cry for help. No one knew exactly what the aliens expected from them, and that uncertainty created both fear and curiosity. Yet amid the tension, a sense of purpose began to grow. For the first time, humanity was facing a moment that was truly bigger than itself, a moment that could change everything. Governments set up emergency meetings. Military leaders, diplomats, and scientists gathered to discuss the next steps. Some suggested ignoring the message, worried that responding could put Earth in danger. Others argued that ignoring it would be a missed opportunity, a chance to connect with beings far beyond their understanding. Every option seemed risky, but the message kept repeating, insistent and clear. There was no turning back. Meanwhile, ordinary people went about their lives unaware that something extraordinary was approaching. Some were fascinated by the possibility of aliens, following news reports and discussions online. Others were skeptical, dismissing the signals as hoaxes or misunderstandings. But even in everyday life, subtle changes began to appear. Airlines tracked unusual objects in the sky. Ships at sea reported strange lights that didn't match any known aircraft. It was as if the universe itself was preparing humanity for what was coming. Then one night, it happened. A massive object appeared in the sky, hovering above the Earth in silence. People across the globe looked up, eyes wide with awe and fear. It was not a meteor, not a satellite, and not anything humanity had ever built. It was a spacecraft, immense in size and unlike anything seen in science fiction. Its surface shimmered with colors that shifted and flowed, as though the ship itself were alive. Governments scrambled to respond. Military satellites tracked the vessel, while scientists attempted to communicate. The world waited, holding its breath. No shots were fired. No warnings came. The object simply stayed in orbit, silent but imposing. And then, slowly, signals began to reach Earth. More complex than the first message, more advanced than any human technology. At first, the communications were confusing. Translators tried to interpret them, but the alien language was difficult to decode. Patterns repeated, but meaning was elusive. Scientists worked around the clock, knowing that every second counted. Soon they began to understand fragments. The aliens assumed humanity was far more advanced than it really was. They spoke as if humans had the knowledge and tools to solve the problem they were facing. It was both thrilling and terrifying. The aliens were desperate, and humans were the accidental solution to a crisis spanning light years. Governments debated strategies. Should they respond honestly and admit they didn't know how to help, or should they try to appear capable, hoping to gain time to learn and understand? Every decision seemed to carry unimaginable weight. Amid this global tension, a small team of scientists emerged as the point of contact. They were ordinary people, engineers, linguists, physicists, thrust into a situation that was far beyond any training or expectation. Yet they accepted the responsibility with courage. Late nights turned into early mornings as they pieced together communication protocols, tested hypotheses, and sent responses into the void. Every message carried the hope of understanding, the hope that Earth could prevent disaster. Meanwhile, the public's fascination continued to grow. Crowds gathered at observatories and open fields to watch the night sky. Online forums exploded with theories, sketches, and imagined scenarios. Children asked their parents questions about life beyond Earth. Humanity, in all its diversity, was united by a single, shared wonder: contact with beings from another world, and the knowledge that the universe was far larger, stranger, and more mysterious than anyone had ever imagined. And yet, despite the excitement, a shadow of fear lingered. What if the aliens were not friendly? What if their problem required something humans could not provide? The unknown loomed large, and anxiety mixed with awe. But even in fear, curiosity burned brighter. For the first time, humans felt the weight of their place in the cosmos, not as isolated beings, but as participants in something far greater. As days turned into weeks, patterns emerged. The alien messages became more structured, and humans began to respond in ways that slowly built understanding. Misunderstandings led to humorous moments, strange misinterpretations of alien gestures or literal translations that sounded absurd, but they also paved the way for deeper communication. Humans realized that these beings, despite their advanced technology, shared something profoundly familiar: hope, fear, and the desire for connection. By the end of the first part of this extraordinary encounter, the stage was set.
Humanity had received a call for help that was never meant for them.
A fleet of alien ships hovered silently above, waiting, observing, and perhaps hoping. And on Earth, people everywhere looked to the sky with anticipation, knowing that life as they knew it was about to change forever. The signal that had seemed so small, so distant at first, had grown into something immense. It was no longer just a message from the stars, it was a beginning. A beginning of contact, a beginning of understanding, and perhaps a beginning of a journey that would stretch humanity farther than anyone had ever dreamed. And as the world held its collective breath, no one could say what would come next, only that the universe had opened its doors to humanity, and for the first time humans had a chance to step through. The world had never seen anything like it. Overnight, the sky became a canvas for something beyond imagination. People everywhere looked up in awe as the massive alien ship hovered silently above the planet, its shimmering surface reflecting sunlight in waves of colors no human eyes had seen before. Cities lit up with excitement and fear, while the media broadcast live images nonstop. Scientists and military officials scrambled to understand what was happening, but one thing was clear: Earth was no longer alone. Inside the alien ship, the beings observed humans with careful attention. Their forms were difficult to comprehend at first. They moved with a grace that seemed unnatural, yet their presence was calm and deliberate. The ships communicated with each other using pulses of light and energy, patterns that human instruments could just barely detect. When humans finally managed to respond, the exchange was slow and filled with misunderstandings. At first, every attempt to communicate seemed frustratingly limited. Humans sent greetings, questions, even attempts at diplomacy, but the aliens' responses were strange and difficult to interpret. Some of the signals looked almost like artistic patterns rather than words. Others appeared as bursts of energy that made instruments flicker and hum. For a moment, scientists feared that meaningful communication might be impossible. Then came the breakthrough. A young linguist on the team noticed patterns repeating in ways that mirrored human logic. Slowly, carefully, a translation emerged. The message was surprising. The aliens assumed that humans were far more advanced than they were. They spoke as though humans had technology to fix interstellar problems, the kind of engineering humans had only dreamed of in science fiction. The thought made the scientists laugh nervously. They were not advanced enough to solve problems on a galactic scale, and yet there was no turning back. The aliens had asked for help, and humans had received the message by mistake. Ignoring it was not an option. There was too much at stake, and curiosity burned too brightly. Governments debated what to do next. Military officials worried about the potential danger. Scientists argued for honesty, stressing the importance of careful study before any action. But amid these discussions, ordinary people began to imagine the possibilities. Social media filled with speculation. How did the aliens look up close? What did their technology look like? Could humans really help them? Children drew pictures of spaceships and stars, while adults argued passionately online about whether it was safe to respond. Amid the global attention, a small team of humans was chosen to directly communicate with the alien vessel. These scientists, engineers, and linguists worked tirelessly, day and night, developing signals, testing translations, and sending responses into orbit. Every message carried not just words, but hope. The hope that humans could understand these mysterious beings and perhaps help them in a way that had never been attempted before. The first real contact was unlike anything anyone expected. A beam of light projected from the ship, forming patterns that looked almost like dancing ribbons in the sky. Instruments detected energy fluctuations that seemed alive. Humans stared at the display in amazement, trying to interpret the meaning. Slowly, a message emerged. The aliens were not here to invade or harm Earth. Their intent was to ask for assistance, believing humans could solve a critical problem in their distant part of the galaxy. The realization brought relief, but it also raised new questions. How could humans, a relatively young species on a small planet, help a civilization so far advanced? What exactly did the aliens need? Scientists debated theories, some of them daring to imagine solutions that were decades or even centuries ahead of human technology. While the experts argued, the public reaction was intense, fear mixed with fascination. Crowds gathered in cities watching the sky for signs of alien movement. Amateur astronomers pointed their telescopes at the spacecraft, hoping for a closer look. People told stories, shared images, and speculated about what life beyond Earth could look like. Humanity, for the first time, was united by a common wonder, the knowledge that other intelligent life existed and had reached out to them. Communication grew more frequent, and small breakthroughs began to occur. The aliens tried to explain their situation. A massive network that allowed their fleet to travel across the galaxy had been damaged, and it threatened their survival. They assumed humans had the capacity to repair it, or at least to understand the principles of its operation. Humans listened carefully, recording every pattern, every signal, and analyzing it in laboratories across the world. Even though humans lacked the technical ability the aliens assumed, their curiosity and creativity made a difference. Scientists began experimenting with ideas that mixed Earth knowledge with insights gained from alien signals. Some were cautious, afraid of making mistakes that could provoke the aliens. Others were bold, trying unconventional approaches that no one had thought of before. The aliens noticed. They began to show subtle signs of relief and interest, almost as if they appreciated human effort even when it failed. Though communication was imperfect, a sense of trust slowly emerged. The aliens were intelligent, patient, and capable, but also genuinely desperate. Humans in return felt a mix of excitement, responsibility, and wonder. The first few weeks of contact were filled with small victories and repeated setbacks. A translation error would lead to confusion. A misinterpreted signal would make the aliens anxious. But over time, patterns became clearer, and humans learned to anticipate alien logic. In one memorable moment, a scientist realized that a sequence of lights emitted by the ship was actually a type of instruction manual for understanding how their energy systems worked. This breakthrough changed everything. Humans began to see that they could contribute, not by building alien technology from scratch, but by thinking creatively and applying human ingenuity. Engineers started designing experiments to simulate the alien network using Earth's materials. Mathematicians decoded complex equations embedded in alien signals. Slowly, a cooperative effort emerged, a joint project between humans and beings from across the stars. During this period, misunderstandings also brought humor. In one incident, humans misinterpreted an alien gesture, thinking it was a threat when in reality it was a form of greeting. News of the misunderstanding spread online, with people joking about aliens being shy or awkward. It reminded everyone that despite the vast differences, some things like curiosity, hesitation, and humor were universal. As the weeks went on, the world adjusted to the presence of the ship above. Ordinary life continued, but now there was a constant awareness that humans were part of something much bigger. Children asked questions that adults struggled to answer. Teachers incorporated the event into lessons, explaining physics, astronomy, and the importance of communication. The encounter inspired a new sense of global unity, as people realized that Earth, despite its diversity and conflicts, was being observed as a single entity by intelligent life far beyond their planet. Amid the excitement, governments and scientists remained cautious. Security measures were in place and ethical discussions flourished. Was it right to experiment with alien technology? How should humans ensure they didn't misuse it? The debates were intense, but they also reflected a growing awareness that this moment could define humanity's place in the universe. Meanwhile, communication with the alien ship continued to improve. Humans discovered that the aliens were fascinated by Earth culture, the arts, music, humor, and unpredictability of human behavior. Even small acts like sending images of Earth landscapes or videos of human activities fascinated the visitors. They reacted with bursts of light and energy patterns that humans eventually learned to interpret as expressions of curiosity and delight. By the end of this phase, humanity had achieved something extraordinary. They had established real contact with beings from another world, beings who had initially assumed humans were far more advanced than they were. And yet, in the midst of their mistakes and misunderstandings, humans had proven themselves capable of learning, adapting, and contributing in meaningful ways. The stage was now set for deeper collaboration. The alien fleet remained in orbit, silent but watchful, and humans were no longer merely spectators. They were participants in an interstellar dialogue, bridging the gap between two civilizations separated by light years. What had started as a mistaken message had become the first step in a journey that could change everything for humanity. And as night fell across the Earth, people looked up at the shimmering ship in the sky, imagining the possibilities. Could humans help these beings? Could the mistakes of the past be corrected, and trust built in its place? The answers were unknown, but hope and determination filled every heart. Humanity had made contact, and for the first time, it felt the incredible weight and excitement of being part of something far greater than itself. The first contact had not yet solved the problem the aliens faced, but it had achieved something equally important. It had shown that humans could communicate, adapt, and learn. It had opened a door to the stars, and once opened, nothing could close it again. Humanity waited, ready to take the next step, unaware of just how vast and complex the challenges ahead would be. The alien fleet remained, silent and watchful, waiting for humans to show that they were. The initial excitement of contact had begun to settle into a new reality. The alien ship continued to hover above Earth, its presence a constant reminder that humanity was no longer alone. People looked at the sky differently now, and even ordinary routines carried a subtle awareness of something extraordinary. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, analyzing alien signals and attempting to understand the technology that far surpassed anything humans had ever imagined. At first, communication had been slow and cautious, filled with misunderstandings that caused occasional frustration. But now humans had started to decode more of the aliens' messages. It became clear that the aliens were seeking help to repair a vast network that allowed their fleet to travel across the galaxy. The problem was complex, even for the advanced humans the aliens assumed they were. The network had been damaged by a natural cosmic event, and without repair, entire sections of the fleet could become stranded or lost. However, there was a problem that quickly became apparent. Humans were interpreting the aliens' urgency in the wrong way. The aliens, in their frustration and desperation, began sending repeated signals, flashes of light and pulses of energy, that humans misread as signs of aggression. The media picked up on this, and speculation ran wild. Headlines screamed about hostile aliens, imminent invasion, and first contact panic. Governments scrambled to reassure the public, but fear was already spreading like wildfire. In reality, the aliens had no intention of harming humans. They were simply desperate and impatient, struggling with technology that, although familiar to them, required expertise they assumed humans possessed. Every misinterpretation by humans made the aliens appear more anxious, which, in turn, fueled the misunderstanding. Ordinary citizens watched the sky nervously, some fascinated, some terrified, and some refusing to believe what they were seeing. Amid the tension, a team of human scientists continued to work on communication. They had learned to recognize the alien signals not as threats, but as expressions of urgency. Slowly, they began to respond in ways the aliens could understand. Yet, even as progress was made, the world remained on edge. Military organizations monitored the situation closely, preparing for scenarios that might never happen. Governments debated whether to reveal the truth fully or to maintain a controlled narrative for public safety. Meanwhile, humans attempted to make sense of the alien technology using Earth-based tools. Laboratory experiments were set up to simulate the alien energy systems. Engineers tried to replicate the patterns they observed, while mathematicians developed models to predict the aliens' needs. For a while, nothing seemed to work. Every attempt produced unexpected results, and frustration grew among the scientists. Some nights ended with weary teams staring at blinking screens, questioning whether humanity was truly capable of helping at all. Despite setbacks, a breakthrough occurred when humans began approaching the problem in a way that was uniquely human. Rather than trying to mimic the aliens' methods exactly, they applied creativity and improvisation. One engineer suggested using principles from Earth physics in combination with the alien patterns, and to everyone's surprise, the experiment produced measurable results. The aliens reacted immediately, sending signals that humans interpreted as relief and curiosity. This marked the beginning of true collaboration. Slowly, humans and aliens began to develop a rhythm, a mutual understanding that went beyond words. The aliens taught humans how to approach certain problems with precision, while humans introduced solutions that relied on intuition and creativity. Both sides were learning from each other. It was not a simple exchange of knowledge, it was a partnership in problem solving. But not everyone on Earth was ready to embrace this partnership. Some governments and leaders saw an opportunity to exploit the situation. Rumors spread that certain countries wanted to seize alien technology for military purposes. Ethical debates erupted in scientific communities and online forums. Was it right to use alien knowledge for power? Could humans trust the aliens, and would the aliens trust humans? These questions hung in the air as tension continued to build. Amid all this, ordinary people were caught between fear and fascination. Some formed skywatching groups, eager to see the aliens' movements firsthand. Others shared drawings, videos, and theories online. Children imagined stories about friendship with beings from the stars. Even the smallest acts, posting images of the ship, sending messages of goodwill, seemed to matter. Humanity as a whole was learning what it meant to exist in a larger universe. The aliens, for their part, remained patient but increasingly anxious. Their urgency grew as they explained the scale of the problem. Certain sections of their fleet were at risk of being stranded for decades. They sent messages using complex light patterns that conveyed both technical information and emotion. Humans struggled to interpret the emotional component at first, misreading concern as anger or hostility. It took time to realize that the aliens experienced something similar to human stress and fear, especially when lives were at stake. A pivotal moment occurred when a human scientist finally understood one of the alien instructions that had previously seemed impossible to decode. By combining logic with intuition, the scientist proposed a method that could stabilize part of the fleet's network temporarily. When tested in a controlled experiment, it worked. The aliens responded with a display of light and energy that humans interpreted as gratitude and excitement. It was a small success, but it marked a turning point. Humans could contribute in ways the aliens had not expected. This success also began to calm global fear. News of the breakthrough spread, showing that the aliens were not hostile and that humans were capable of making meaningful progress. People began to see the encounter as an opportunity rather than a threat. Schools, universities, and research institutions organized special programs to study the alien signals. Ordinary citizens shared ideas, participated in citizen science projects, and contributed to a collective effort to understand and assist the visitors. Even as collaboration grew, misunderstandings continued to create drama. There were moments when humans misread the aliens' intentions, leading to temporary panic. Once, a sudden surge of energy from the ship caused alarm worldwide. Governments feared an attack, but scientists quickly identified it as part of the aliens' troubleshooting process. It was a reminder that the journey toward understanding would be full of twists and challenges. Throughout it all, one thing became increasingly clear. Humanity's value was not in matching the aliens' technology, but in offering creativity, adaptability, and insight. The aliens began to show signs of respect for human ingenuity, acknowledging that while humans lacked advanced tools, they had unique problem-solving skills. Humans, in turn, were learning to think in ways they had never imagined, stretching their minds beyond the limits of earthbound science. The partnership also began to foster a deeper connection. Humans learned that the aliens were not only logical beings, but also capable of emotion, curiosity, and humor in their own way. They were fascinated by human culture, music, art, storytelling, even jokes. Sending simple images of Earth's landscapes or videos of daily life elicited responses of energy patterns that humans interpreted as delight. It became clear that while technology separated the two civilizations, emotion and curiosity were universal. By the end of this phase, humans had achieved something extraordinary. Despite initial misunderstandings and fear, they had established a foundation of trust and cooperation. The aliens no longer seemed desperate or anxious in the same way. They began to see humans as partners rather than accidental recipients of a misrouted message. Humanity had learned that even in a vast universe, communication, patience, and creativity could bridge unimaginable distances. And yet the challenges ahead remained immense. The alien fleet was still at risk, and the full scale of the repairs needed was beyond anything humans had faced before. Misunderstandings, cultural differences, and technical hurdles were still obstacles to overcome. But humanity was no longer merely an observer. They had a role to play, and they were beginning to rise to the occasion. As night fell on Earth, people everywhere looked at the shimmering ship in the sky with a mix of awe and anticipation. It was no longer just a symbol of fear or mystery. It was a reminder of possibility. The first real contact had been made, and now humans had to prove that they could meet the challenge before them. The aliens waited patiently, observing the humans below. They had assumed humanity was advanced, but they were beginning to understand something unexpected. Humans were resilient, creative, and capable of adapting in ways that even an advanced civilization might not predict. Mistaken or not, the contact had sparked a journey that would transform both worlds forever. And as the world prepared for the next steps, one thing was certain: the story of humanity and the alien visitors was only beginning, and it would be defined not by fear or misunderstanding, but by the courage, curiosity, and ingenuity of those who dared to reach beyond the stars. The days that followed marked a new chapter in humanity's encounter with the alien visitors. The initial fear and confusion had begun to fade, replaced by a cautious optimism. Scientists and engineers, now working closely with alien technology, felt a sense of responsibility and excitement unlike anything they had ever experienced. They were no longer simply observing. They were active participants in a mission that could stretch the limits of human understanding. The first step was establishing a base for collaboration. A specially designed orbital station was built near the alien ship, equipped with human technology and systems that could interface with the visitors' equipment. It was a delicate balance. The humans needed to ensure their own safety while adapting to technology far beyond Earth's standards. Engineers worked tirelessly, assembling modules and testing communications, while scientists studied alien energy patterns, trying to predict how they would react to human interaction. At first, cooperation was slow and awkward. Humans made mistakes, sending signals that were misinterpreted, applying Earth methods that did not translate well to alien systems. The aliens, though advanced, had their own misunderstandings. Some of their displays of energy, meant to guide humans, were initially confusing, even alarming. But both sides learned quickly, adjusting to each other's ways. Gradually, a rhythm developed, a method of working together that combined human intuition with alien precision. Of the most important breakthroughs came when humans discovered that some alien systems responded to creativity rather than strict formulas. A human engineer suggested a method inspired by organic patterns found in nature, using spiral formations and branching structures instead of rigid grids. To everyone's amazement, the system responded perfectly. The aliens, through pulses of light and energy, expressed delight, signaling that humans had found a solution that was not only correct but also elegant in a way they appreciated. This success encouraged the team. Scientists from all over the world were consulted, from physicists to mathematicians to biologists. Each person brought unique insights that contributed to the larger effort. The project became a global endeavor, with people realizing that this was humanity's first chance to directly influence an interstellar problem. Ordinary citizens followed the developments with fascination. Children drew diagrams and models, while enthusiasts built simulations at home. The excitement was contagious, spreading far beyond laboratories and government agencies. Yet the work was not without tension. Some governments saw an opportunity to exploit alien technology for their own gain. They pushed for access to systems that humans had barely begun to understand. Ethical debates erupted. Should the knowledge be used to advance Earth's military power? Or should it remain focused on helping the aliens and building trust? Scientists argued passionately, stressing that any misuse could destroy the fragile relationship that had begun. Even among the aliens, there were moments of impatience. They had assumed humans could act quickly, and delays sometimes frustrated them. But as they observed human creativity, they began to appreciate it. They realized that humans were not merely unprepared, they were approaching problems in a way that no other civilization had. While humans lacked the sheer technical knowledge of the aliens, they had imagination, adaptability, and an unexpected ability to see patterns in ways the aliens had not considered. Collaboration also allowed humans to learn more about the aliens themselves. Though their biology and form were difficult to comprehend, it became clear that the aliens were highly intelligent, social, and capable of emotion. They displayed curiosity about Earth in ways that were surprisingly relatable. Simple acts like sending images of rivers, mountains, or human inventions elicited reactions of energy patterns that humans gradually interpreted as excitement, delight, or even humor. The aliens were fascinated by human unpredictability, by the way humans could think in unconventional ways. Over time, teams began experimenting with joint projects. Humans and aliens worked side by side, using simulation chambers to test solutions for the damaged network. Energy conduits were stabilized using methods humans developed from intuition and observation. The aliens shared principles and humans contributed new approaches, blending the two styles into something unique. Every success brought relief. Every failure offered new lessons. It was slow, meticulous work, but progress was undeniable. One evening, as the orbital station orbited Earth, a human engineer watched a series of glowing energy streams pulse across the station's interface. For the first time, the patterns aligned perfectly. The damaged section of the network stabilized. The aliens responded with a brilliant display of light that filled the observation windows with color. The humans cheered quietly, knowing that this small victory represented a huge step forward. They had begun to understand the alien systems in ways no one had imagined possible. Even as excitement grew, humans remained humble. They realized that they were still far from fully repairing the network, and that each breakthrough brought new challenges. Some sections of the alien fleet remained unstable, and the scale of the problem was vast. But the collaboration itself had created trust, a mutual understanding that would be essential in the coming weeks. While scientists focused on technical work, humanity's culture and creativity began to influence the aliens in surprising ways. The visitors were fascinated by art, music, and human stories. Videos of dance, images of paintings, and recordings of music were transmitted to the ship. The aliens responded with patterns of light that humans interpreted as expressions of appreciation or even joy. It became clear that connection was not only practical but also emotional. This cultural exchange fostered goodwill, easing tensions and building a foundation of trust that no technical manual could provide. As the weeks turned into months, collaboration deepened. Humans became adept at interpreting subtle signals, predicting alien responses and proposing innovative solutions. The aliens, in turn, began to teach humans more advanced principles, not as instructions but as challenges to stretch their creativity. Humanity was learning a new kind of problem-solving, one that combined logic, imagination, and intuition in ways previously unexplored. Amid the excitement, there were still moments of doubt. Global media occasionally exaggerated misunderstandings, causing public panic. Some scientists felt overwhelmed by the pressure of responsibility, knowing that mistakes could have consequences for both worlds. Yet these challenges were balanced by moments of awe and inspiration. Ordinary people, inspired by the collaboration, began to dream bigger, imagining new ways to explore space, create sustainable technology, and understand the universe. One particularly memorable day occurred when humans finally repaired a minor, yet critical section of the network. The aliens reacted with a display so intricate and beautiful that it filled the observation deck with cascading light patterns, like a cosmic fireworks show. Scientists and engineers watched in silence, tears in their eyes, realizing that this moment marked the true beginning of interstellar partnership. It was proof that humans, despite their limitations, could make a difference in ways even an advanced civilization had not expected. As the collaboration continued, Earth itself began to change. People started to see the planet as part of a larger universe, a small world with the potential to reach far beyond its borders. Schools introduced new programs inspired by the encounter. Citizens engaged in science projects and discussions about space ethics, sustainability, and the importance of curiosity. The story of human-alien cooperation became a symbol of hope, ingenuity, and unity. And yet, even with these successes, the challenge was far from over. The alien network still had vast sections in need of repair, and the aliens' fleet depended on human insight to prevent disaster. Scientists and engineers prepared for the next phase, knowing that progress required patience, creativity, and collaboration on an unprecedented scale. As night fell across the Earth, people looked up at the shimmering alien ship with wonder and anticipation. They had witnessed the beginning of a partnership that could redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. While fear and uncertainty remained, hope and determination shone brighter. Humans had learned that even in the vastness of space, connection, creativity, and cooperation could bridge the unimaginable gap between worlds. The aliens waited patiently, observing and interacting, learning from humans even as they taught. Mistaken or not, the initial contact had sparked a journey that neither species could have predicted. The partnership was no longer accidental. It was a deliberate, evolving collaboration that promised to change both civilizations forever. And so, humanity continued its work step by step, combining logic and creativity, intuition and curiosity. Every small success brought them closer to repairing the alien network and proving that humans could contribute meaningfully to the cosmos. The story was far from over, but one truth had become clear. When worlds meet with understanding, patience, and imagination, even the most impossible challenges can be faced together. The orbital station buzzed with activity. Humans and aliens worked side by side, each focused on the delicate task of stabilizing the alien fleet's interstellar network. Months of collaboration had produced remarkable progress, but no one was under any illusion that the job was complete. There were still sections of the network that were unstable, systems that resisted repair, and variables that could not yet be controlled. It was during one of these tense periods that a new problem emerged, a malfunction in the network that threatened not only the alien fleet but also the orbital station itself. The warning lights blinked red across consoles, sending a ripple of anxiety through the human team. Alarms echoed faintly, and the aliens reacted with bursts of energy that humans quickly learned were expressions of alarm and fear. "This is serious," a lead engineer said, his voice tight with tension. "If we don't act fast, the entire section could collapse. Parts of the fleet might be stranded and the station could be in danger." Scientists and engineers scrambled to assess the situation. Data streamed in from the ship and the network, forming a complex puzzle that had to be solved under pressure. Every second counted. Humans had been building knowledge steadily, but this was the first time they faced a crisis of this magnitude, one where mistakes could have immediate and far-reaching consequences. Communication with the aliens was frantic but coordinated. The visitors' light patterns pulsed in quick succession, conveying detailed information about the malfunction. Human teams deciphered the signals, translating them into actionable steps. It was a race against time, and no one could afford to hesitate. In the control room, a young scientist stared at a series of readings, heart pounding. She realized that the malfunction involved multiple variables interacting in ways humans had not anticipated. The system was unstable, responding unpredictably to attempts at repair. For a moment, despair threatened to take over, but then she remembered the lessons learned from earlier collaboration. Creativity and intuition were just as important as logic and precision. The team worked in shifts, coordinating with the aliens to stabilize key nodes in the network. They tested solutions in real-time simulations, sending responses and observing the results. Every success brought relief, but every minor setback increased tension. Humans had become comfortable with complex problem-solving, but the stakes now were higher than ever before. The entire fleet's safety, and the orbital station itself, depended on their ability to act quickly and accurately. Outside the station, the alien ship shimmered like a living presence. Pulses of energy radiated from its surface, reflecting both anxiety and hope. Humans had come to recognize these signals as emotional responses, though they were expressed in forms entirely alien to Earth. They represented urgency, reassurance, and encouragement all at once. The crew had learned to interpret subtle changes in intensity and rhythm, guiding their decisions as they worked tirelessly to stabilize the network. Hours passed in a blur. Engineers adjusted energy flows, scientists recalculated equations, and aliens offered guidance in ways humans were slowly beginning to understand. It was a delicate dance, combining precision, intuition, and trust. Mistakes were not an option, yet humans approached the task with a mix of determination and caution. At one critical moment, a section of the network surged unexpectedly. Energy levels spiked, threatening to overwhelm the station's shielding systems. A human technician shouted a warning, and the team moved with coordinated urgency. They diverted energy, recalibrated nodes, and sent corrective signals to the fleet. The aliens responded with rapid bursts of light, signaling both relief and gratitude. Humans realized that their quick thinking had prevented a disaster. Even as relief washed over the team, new challenges appeared. The network's instability was spreading, and some areas required solutions that humans had not yet attempted. Engineers brainstormed, combining Earth technology with patterns derived from alien systems. It was a trial and error process, each step carefully monitored and adjusted. The pressure was immense, but the shared sense of purpose kept everyone focused. Throughout the crisis, communication between humans and aliens became more refined. Misunderstandings that had plagued earlier interactions were minimized. Humans had learned to read emotional cues in the aliens' energy patterns, while the aliens had begun to anticipate human responses. Trust was growing, built through shared experience and the urgent necessity of cooperation. Outside the orbital station, Earth watched. News broadcasts reported the crisis cautiously, avoiding panic while conveying the seriousness of the situation. People around the world held their breath, knowing that humans were facing a challenge unlike any in history. Children asked questions about bravery and teamwork, while adults marveled at the courage of those on the front lines of interstellar problem-solving. Despite the high stakes, moments of human spirit shone through. A team of scientists shared encouraging words with each other, small jokes lightening the tension. One engineer, struggling to keep focus, described the chaotic energy patterns of the alien network as a cosmic dance gone wrong, and the phrase brought a tense room to a brief smile. Humor, small and fleeting, reminded everyone of their humanity even in the midst of an unprecedented crisis. As the hours dragged on, the team began to see progress. Sections of the network stabilized, responding to the combination of human ingenuity and alien guidance. Energy flows normalized and critical nodes held firm. The aliens signaled approval with vibrant light patterns, a display so intricate that humans could only marvel at its beauty. It was a moment of relief, but also a reminder of how much work remained. The turning point came when a human scientist suggested a method that combined intuition with alien design principles. By adjusting the energy flows in a pattern inspired by natural spirals and branching structures found on Earth, the team was able to stabilize one of the most volatile sections of the network. The aliens reacted immediately, their light pulses forming an intricate pattern of celebration and relief. Humans realized that their creativity had just prevented a potential catastrophe. With one section stabilized, momentum built. Humans and aliens worked in tandem, repairing additional sections and reinforcing the network. Every success increased confidence, every error taught a new lesson. By the end of the long cycle, critical parts of the network had been stabilized, and the immediate threat to the fleet and orbital station had passed. Exhausted but exhilarated, the human team took a moment to absorb what had been achieved. They had faced a crisis of unimaginable scale and survived. More importantly, they had done so not alone, but with the guidance, trust, and cooperation of beings from another world. Humans realized that they were capable of far more than they had ever imagined. The aliens, for their part, displayed a form of gratitude that humans were slowly learning to interpret. Energy pulses radiated across the ship in elaborate patterns like a cosmic celebration. It was as if the visitors were expressing relief, pride, and appreciation all at once. Humans responded in kind, sending signals of acknowledgement and warmth. The bond between the two civilizations had deepened, forged in the heat of crisis. Back on Earth, news of the successful stabilization spread, inspiring hope and pride. People marveled at the bravery and ingenuity of those involved, realizing that humanity had faced its first real test in interstellar cooperation, and passed. Schools held lessons about teamwork, creativity, and problem-solving. Citizens followed updates eagerly, imagining the possibilities of a future where humans and aliens could work together. Yet, even as relief settled over the orbital station and the Earth below, there was an awareness that the journey was far from over. The network was stable for now, but further repairs and deeper collaboration were still necessary. Humans and aliens alike understood that the success of this crisis had set a precedent. Cooperation, trust, and creativity could overcome challenges once thought impossible. As the orbital station orbited silently above the planet, humans reflected on what they had learned. Fear, doubt, and misunderstanding had almost jeopardized the mission, but persistence, ingenuity, and communication had turned the tide. They had seen firsthand that even in the face of incomprehensible technology and a civilization far advanced beyond their own, human creativity could make a difference. The aliens, observing from their ship, seemed to echo that realization. They had assumed humans were simply accidental recipients of a misrouted message, unprepared for interstellar collaboration. Yet humans had risen to the occasion, demonstrating qualities that no technological advantage could replace. Intuition, adaptability, and the courage to act under pressure. And so, the crisis passed, leaving both humans and aliens changed. Trust had been forged, collaboration had been proven effective, and humanity had learned the first lesson of real interstellar cooperation. That courage and creativity could bridge unimaginable distances, even in the most desperate circumstances. The orbital station hummed with quiet energy as systems stabilized. Humans and aliens worked side by side, preparing for the next phase of repair, knowing that challenges would continue to arise. Yet for the first time, both sides were confident that they could face whatever came next, together. Night fell on Earth, and people everywhere looked up at the shimmering Ali. The orbital station had become a place of quiet triumph. Months of collaboration, innovation, and problem-solving had led to remarkable progress. Humans had learned to interpret the alien signals, to work with their technology, and even to think in ways that went beyond earthbound logic. And the aliens, in turn, had come to appreciate human creativity, patience, and courage. A bond had formed between the two civilizations, forged in shared effort and mutual respect. Yet, as with all journeys, there came a moment when endings were inevitable. The alien fleet, its network stabilized and systems repaired, no longer required the constant presence of human guidance. The crisis that had brought the two species together had passed, and it was time for the visitors to continue their journey across the stars. But leaving was not simple, for both sides had been profoundly changed by the encounter. Humans felt a mixture of pride, sadness, and awe. They had played a role in something far larger than their world, something that had reached across light years and connected two very different forms of life. Ordinary people who had watched the events unfold from Earth felt a sense of collective accomplishment. Scientists, engineers, and astronauts who had worked on the orbital station reflected on how much they had learned, not only about alien technology but about collaboration, trust, and human potential. The aliens, for their part, prepared for departure with a series of intricate displays of energy and light. These patterns, unfamiliar yet beautiful, were a form of communication that humans had gradually learned to understand. They expressed gratitude, admiration, and something akin to farewell. The visitors' gestures were complex, far beyond human language, yet the emotions behind them were clear: respect, appreciation, and hope for continued connection. Before leaving, the aliens transmitted a series of messages to humans on Earth. These were not merely technical instructions or scientific principles, but gifts of knowledge and insight. They included ideas for energy systems, new ways of understanding the universe, and principles that could inspire generations of human thought and innovation. The aliens did not expect humans to use everything immediately, but they offered it as a sign of trust, a token of partnership that could extend long after the fleet had gone. In response, humans sent messages of gratitude and curiosity. They shared images of Earth, videos of people at work and play, and even recordings of music and art. Though the aliens could not fully experience the nuances of human culture as humans did, they appreciated the gesture. The exchange was not just technical, it was deeply personal. It was a reminder that connection between worlds could go beyond systems and machines. It could touch the heart. As the moment of departure approached, the orbital station's crew watched the alien ships prepare for travel. The fleet shimmered, engines humming with a power humans could barely comprehend. The energy patterns that radiated from the ships were like an orchestra of light, signaling readiness, unity, and farewell. Humans had learned to read these signals, and they felt the emotion behind them. There was pride for what had been accomplished, relief for the successful collaboration, and a quiet sadness for the inevitable separation. Then, in a moment that seemed to stretch across time, the fleet slowly began to move. Light shimmered across the ship's surfaces, engines glowing as energy flowed through their systems. The orbital station observed as the fleet formed a pattern that resembled a spiral, a gesture the humans had come to recognize as symbolic of both completion and journey. It was a farewell that spoke volumes without words, a recognition of shared effort and mutual respect. Earth watched too. People gathered in streets, parks, and observatories, eyes turned to the sky. The alien ships moved with grace, their colors shifting in ways that were mesmerizing. Children clutched hands with parents, pointing upward in awe. Adults paused their routines, momentarily united in wonder and admiration. Humanity felt smaller in the grand scale of the universe, yet larger in its capacity to participate in something so extraordinary. As the fleet moved farther away, communications gradually decreased. Humans continued to send messages of goodwill, knowing that some of them would never be received directly, but trusting that the connection had been made. The aliens, for their part, responded with subtle pulses of energy as the ships left Earth's orbit, a silent acknowledgement that the bond between the two civilizations would endure. After the departure, silence fell over the orbital station and the Earth below, yet it was a silence filled with meaning. Humans had proven that they could reach across unimaginable distances, understand complex systems, and cooperate with beings far beyond their own experience. They had faced crises, solved problems, and learned lessons that would remain with them forever. And the aliens had shown that even civilizations separated by space and experience could find common ground through patience, creativity, and trust. Life on Earth began to return to a new normal, but nothing would ever be the same. The story of the alien fleet became part of human history, a moment that reminded people of the vastness of the universe and the potential of human ingenuity. Scientists continued to study the knowledge transmitted by the aliens, discovering insights that could change energy systems, space travel, and even understanding of physics itself. Engineers experimented with new technologies inspired by the alien designs, while schools and universities incorporated lessons of collaboration and problem-solving into their curricula. Humanity had also learned something more profound. Beyond technology and science, the encounter had demonstrated the value of trust, patience, and creativity. Ordinary people realized that their curiosity, imagination, and willingness to learn were as important as any machine or formula. The world became more united in subtle ways, as people understood that cooperation, even on a global scale, could achieve incredible results. Astronomers and space enthusiasts continued to watch the skies, hoping for future contact. Children grew up inspired by the idea that life beyond Earth was not just possible, but accessible through understanding and effort. The encounter had sparked dreams of exploration, innovation, and connection that would guide humanity for generations. Meanwhile, the orbital station remained as a reminder of what had been accomplished. It was a symbol of human achievement, a testament to courage, curiosity, and perseverance. Scientists and engineers continued to use it as a hub for research, knowing that their work had reached new heights thanks to the lessons learned from collaboration with the alien visitors. Years later, humans would reflect on the moment with pride and gratitude. The alien fleet had come by accident, a misrouted signal that led to a meeting neither species had anticipated. Yet that accident had created a partnership that changed humanity forever. People would tell stories of bravery, problem-solving, and discovery, passing them down through generations. Children would dream of the stars not as distant mysteries but as places where humans could belong, cooperate, and thrive. The aliens, traveling across the galaxy, would remember Earth as well. They had encountered a species that was far younger, less advanced in technology, yet capable of creativity, intuition, and courage that even an advanced civilization could admire. The lessons learned from humans would stay with them, shaping their understanding of intelligence, collaboration, and the potential of life across the stars. And so, the journey that began with a mistaken signal came to a close, leaving humanity transformed. The world had seen that connection. Trust and shared effort could overcome fear, misunderstanding, and the vast distances of space. Humans had discovered that they were capable of greatness, not just individually but collectively, as a species united by curiosity, creativity, and the courage to reach beyond their known limits. As night fell on Earth, people gazed at the stars with a renewed sense of possibility. The alien fleet had departed, but its presence remained in memory, in lessons learned, and in the inspiration it provided. Humanity knew that the universe was vast, full of unknowns, yet within reach if people dared to explore, understand, and cooperate. The story of the accidental meeting, the collaboration, and the eventual farewell became a guiding light for generations. It reminded people that even in the face of uncertainty, fear, and enormous challenges, creativity, courage, and connection could bridge unimaginable distances. Humanity had been tested, had succeeded, and had been forever changed. The stars no longer seemed distant. They seemed full of opportunity, friendship, and discovery. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and nothing would ever be the same. The alien fleet had departed, but the journey had only just begun. For Earth, for humans, and for the possibility of life reaching out across the cosmos.